The human arrival, the cold air of the alien medical station was quiet, almost too quiet. Only the low hum of machines could be heard. Inside one of the long, glowing hallways, Nurse Velrina walked alone. Her tall, thin figure moved quickly. Her skin was light blue, and her large black eyes scanned the screen in her hand. She had received a strange emergency alert. Unknown life form in medical pod. Status: critical. Species: human. Velrina frowned. She had heard of humans, but never seen one. Most aliens thought they were too aggressive, too emotional, too unpredictable. Some even called them dangerous. She reached the medical bay. A glowing pod stood in the center. Inside, a male human lay unconscious. Blood, red and thick, had dried on parts of his armor. Machines beeped around him, scanning his body, keeping him alive. Velrina stepped closer and stared. The human looked different than any species she knew. His skin was pale. His muscles were strong. His chest moved slowly, showing he was alive. Suddenly, her eyes widened. Something was wrong. She noticed a strange swelling near his lower body, between his legs. It was growing like some kind of infection. She stepped back in alarm. What is that? She whispered. Was it a parasite? A biological weapon? A dangerous mutation? Her fingers shook slightly as she typed into the scanner. Result: not an infection. Vital signs: normal. Human reproductive organ, natural response. Velrina blinked. This is normal? How? She had studied over 200 alien species. None of them had this kind of reaction. In her culture, body swelling was a sign of sickness or death. But this human was showing healthy signs. His heart was strong. His brain was active. His body temperature was rising, but within safe limits. Is this some kind of defense system? She asked herself. Does it grow when he's threatened? Velrina slowly reached toward the swelling, purely for examination. Her hand hovered over it, and the organ twitched. She gasped loudly and pulled her hand back. It moved! She cried. The machine beeped again. Subject: waking up. Prepare for interaction. Velrina stepped back. Her heart, she had two, started beating faster. No alien she had treated had ever made her feel this nervous. She wasn't sure if it was fear or curiosity. The human's eyes slowly opened. He blinked a few times, confused. His lips moved but made no sound at first. Then, in a rough voice, he said, "Where am I?" Velrina hesitated, then answered softly, "You are in the Zelari medical station, orbiting planet 7C. You were found on the battlefield, almost dead." The human stared at her. "You're not human," he said. Velrina nodded. "I am Velrina. I am your nurse." The human tried to sit up, but pain stopped him. He winced and fell back. "Take it easy," she said. "Your body is weak. You have injuries on your chest and arms." He looked down, then suddenly looked embarrassed. He pulled the sheet over his lower body. Velrina noticed. "Why are you hiding it?" she asked, honestly confused. The human turned red in the face. "Because that's private." Velrina tilted her head. "Private? But it is a natural part of your body. Why do you hide it if it is not dangerous?" The human sighed. "It's complicated." Velrina's mind was full of questions. Why did it move? Why did he feel shame about it? Why did her heart beat faster when she looked at it? Suddenly, the door opened. A senior medical officer walked in. "Nurse Velrina, step outside, now." Velrina looked back at the human. He was now fully awake and watching her with tired eyes. There was no fear in them, only confusion. And maybe trust. As she left the room, she couldn't help but feel something strange inside her. It wasn't fear. It wasn't disgust. It was something New. For the first time in her life, Valrina didn't know what to think. What is this human? She whispered to herself. And what is he doing to me? Asterisk Nurse Valrina couldn't sleep that cycle. She lay in her dim, violet-lit room, staring at the ceiling. Thoughts of the human filled her mind, his strange body, his warm skin, and that movement. The swelling had not left her thoughts. She sat up, opened her tablet, and typed in silence. Search. Human male reproductive organ uncontrolled. Inflation response. No match found in official alien medical database. She frowned. This is a problem. Valrina hated problems. She had trained for 40 solar rotations to be calm, logical, and professional. But this human was not in any of the books. His body did things that didn't make sense, not in science, not in culture. Next cycle, she returned to the medical bay early. The human, Ethan, as he told her, was sitting up now. He looked tired but alert. His arm was bandaged. His chest was healing. He smiled when he saw her. Good morning. Nurse alien lady. Valrina blinked. My name is Valrina. Valrina, he repeated slowly, then nodded. Cool name. She didn't understand the word cool, but it sounded peaceful. Valrina began scanning his body again. His temperature was rising slightly. His pulse was steady. But then, again, the swelling began. She paused mid-scan. It's happening again, she whispered. Ethan followed her gaze. He sighed loudly, pulled the sheet over his lower body, and looked away. It's not my fault, okay? Then whose fault is it? She asked, genuinely confused. No one's, he said. It just happens sometimes. Randomly, or when I'm nervous. Or when, he stopped. Valrina tilted her head. You are nervous because of me? Ethan turned red in the face. No. I mean, you're fine. You're just different. Valrina stood back and crossed her arms. Your body shows signs of stress, or maybe desire. In my species, that means danger is near, but your body thinks I am danger. Or attractive. Which one is it? Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it. She continued scanning. The swelling was increasing. I must report this, she said. Wait, no. Please don't. Why not? Because they'll think I'm unstable or diseased. Or worse, a pervert. She didn't know the word pervert, but his tone made it sound serious. She hesitated. This may be a cultural misunderstanding, she said, but it is affecting your vitals, and it is distracting. She stepped closer and gently touched his forehead. Ethan froze. Valrina's touch was light, cold, almost like mist. But the moment surprised him and surprised her more, because when she touched him, the swelling twitched again. She jumped back. It moved again, she said, shocked. Yeah, well, it does that sometimes. Without warning, without order, that is, chaos. Ethan buried his face in his hands. It's normal. Look. I'll try to calm it down. Valrina blinked. You can control it? Not really. I can try to think about boring stuff, like sand or space taxes. She stared. You have taxes? In space? Unfortunately, yes. They were both silent for a moment. Then the door opened again. Supervisor Medica Torvex entered. Her face was stern. Her eyes scanned the scene. Valrina quickly stood at attention. Status of the patient? Torvex asked. He is stable. Valrina replied. Torvex stepped inside, looked at Ethan, then at the scanner data. His lower body shows unusual signs. Valrina felt her throat tighten. Yes, I believe it is part of his species' natural cycle. Torvex stared at the chart. Unnatural cycles can lead to contamination. Are you certain this swelling is not a threat? Valrina hesitated. I am still studying. Torvex narrowed her eyes. Then study quickly. If this inflammation spreads, we may be forced to neutralize it and him. Ethan didn't understand the words, but her tone made him uncomfortable. Everything okay? He asked softly. Valrina nodded slowly, but inside, she was not okay. She was confused, curious, and strangely protective. This human, this swollen, emotional, strange male, why was she starting to care? Valrina sat alone in the research lab, her long fingers tapping nervously on the table. A hologram of the human body floated in front of her, full color, detailed, and confusing. She zoomed in on the lower region again. The organ was labeled penis, male reproductive structure. Function, reproduction and urination. May become erect under emotional or physical stimulation. She blinked. Erect? From emotion? This made no sense to her. In her species, emotions were silent, controlled. Nothing physical happened when they felt attraction or curiosity, and definitely not swelling. She sighed. Humans are not just strange. They are dangerous to logic. Still, something inside her wanted to understand more. Not for science. Not for orders, but for him. Later that day, Valrina returned to the medical bay. Ethan was sitting up again, now eating something squishy and blue from a nutrition pod. He smiled when she entered. Hey, Doc Blue. I am not blue. I am cyan-based bioplasmic, she corrected. Well, you're still the prettiest shade of cyan I've ever seen. She paused, unsure if that was an insult or something else. Why do you speak in riddles? She asked. That wasn't a riddle, he chuckled. That was flirting. Flirting, she repeated. Is this a form of human combat? Ethan laughed so hard he nearly dropped his food. No, it's like verbal mating signals. Mating? You're trying to mate with me through words? I mean, not really. I was just being nice. Valrina stepped forward. Your body inflates when you are being nice. This is biologically confusing. Ethan raised his hands. It's not on purpose. My body does what it wants. Valrina studied him. Then you do not control your own biology? Not? Always. That's part of being human. She tilted her head. That sounds inefficient. He laughed again. You've clearly never been on a date. Valrina opened her notes. I have reviewed 72 articles on human mating. Many speak of Netflix and chill. Is this a medical treatment? Ethan coughed, choking on his food. No, that's not a treatment. That's slang for, private interaction. She raised an eyebrow. Do humans commonly mix entertainment and reproduction? Ethan looked around the room like he was searching for a reset button. Valrina, we need to teach you about jokes. She blinked. I do not think I am ready for human jokes. I am still struggling with your biology. She walked closer, serious now. I touched your forehead yesterday. Your organ responded. This is not normal in any species I've met. Ethan's face went red again. That's just nerves. And maybe a little attraction. It doesn't mean I'm going to explode or something. But you could, she said softly. Your body behaves like it is on the edge of a reaction. Every time I am near, it responds. Ethan looked into her eyes now. For the first time, he wasn't joking. Maybe because I'm not used to someone like you. You single quotes, strange, kind, honest. Valrina felt something strange too. Not swelling. Not fear, but warmth. A signal blinked on her wrist screen. Warning. Unauthorized conversation length. Nurse duty limit exceeded. Report back to medica. She ignored it. Do you find me attractive? she asked bluntly. Ethan's eyes widened. You're beautiful in a way I don't understand. Does that make sense? She smiled softly. Yes, because I do not understand it either. That night, in her quarters, Valrina opened her log. Human male, emotionally unstable, biologically unpredictable. Yet I continue to observe him. Not as a subject, but as a mystery. A mystery I wish to solve, not with tools, but with time and trust. She paused. And perhaps Netflix. The lights in the hallway blinked twice, a sign of internal surveillance being activated. Valrina didn't notice. She sat at the edge of Ethan's bed, her long fingers carefully checking his bandages. The room was quiet, but their silence felt full, not empty. You're healing faster than expected, she said softly. Maybe that's your alien magic, Ethan replied, smiling. She looked at him. It's not magic. It's science. Well, he said, it feels magical. There was something in his voice, soft, almost like a song. Valrina didn't understand the feeling it gave her, but it made her heart beat, slow. She finished the scan and turned to leave. But Ethan touched her hand lightly. Her body froze. Alien touch was rare, sacred, even. Among her people, casual contact was forbidden unless part of a ritual. Sorry, Ethan said quickly, pulling his hand back. I didn't mean to. Why did you do that? She asked, voice steady but eyes wide. I don't know, he replied honestly. I just didn't want you to leave so fast. Valrina didn't move. Her thoughts were tangled. Behind the glass wall, two alien officers watched the entire scene through a hidden monitor. She let him touch her, one said. Physical response was delayed. The other noted. They turned to the high commanders. Signal feed. Should we alert Medica Council? Not yet, the commander said. Observe. Record. If emotions form, we may have a contamination. Back in the room, Ethan was asking questions. So your people don't touch each other? At all? Valrina shook her head. We believe skin contact creates emotional confusion. Love, fear, passion, they are considered chemical dangers. Ethan laughed a little. In my world, we call those feelings life. She looked at him strangely. That would be considered a dangerous philosophy. Maybe, he said, but it's honest. She tilted her head. Do all humans speak so openly? No, most lie. But I nearly died last week, so I don't feel like wasting time. They looked at each other again. A second passed. Then, two. Then the lights flickered. Valrina stood suddenly. That's a signal. Visitor alert. She turned toward the door just as it slid open. Supervisor Medica Torvex entered, followed by two guards. Her eyes were hard, cold, watching. Everything. Nurse Valrina, you have exceeded your interaction limit. Valrina stayed calm. Patient required extended emotional analysis. His mental state is not your concern, Torvex snapped. Your assignment ends now. Ethan sat up. Whoa, wait. She's the only reason I'm alive. One of the guards raised an eyebrow. The human speaks. I always spoke, Ethan replied, annoyed. You just didn't listen. Valrina stepped forward. He is not a threat. He is recovering. But he requires consistency. You are emotionally compromised, Torvex said sharply. Valrina froze. That was the worst accusation in Zilari medicine. It meant weakness. It meant unclean judgment. I am not compromised, she said, her voice tight. Then why did you allow contact? Why did you delay your report? Why did you lie in your last log entry? Valrina looked stunned. Ethan stood, now struggling against the pain. Hey, this is crazy. We didn't do anything wrong. Torvex turned to him. You, human, will be reassigned to Isolation Pod 7C. You are to have no further communication with medical staff. Like hell I will, Ethan said. The guard stepped forward. Valerina moved quickly, stepping between them. Please, she said. Let me speak to the council first. No, Torvex replied coldly. The council already sees enough. She looked toward the wall, toward the hidden lens watching them. Ethan realized what that meant. You've been spying on us? You are a biorisk, Torvex said, and she is infected, not with disease, but with emotion. The door slammed shut behind them. Valerina sat alone in her quarters that night, her fingers trembling. She opened her private log. They watched us. They saw everything, but they do not understand anything. She paused. Is emotion really contamination, or is it connection? Valerina stood outside Isolation Pod 7C. The hallway was cold, quiet, the kind of silence designed to make people obedient. But her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Inside the pod, Ethan was alone. No window. No sound. Just one light and one cot. She had visited every kind of patient, from reptilian war beasts to glowing cloud forms. But this was different. She was not coming as a nurse anymore. She was coming as something else. Hours earlier, she had sat before the Medica Council. Your emotions have compromised your logic, one elder said. You allowed physical contact with the human, another added. You may have experienced empathic contamination, said the High Medica. Valerina did not lie. Yes, she had said. The room had gone still. And if you ask me to choose between him and the rules, I will choose him. Her words echoed like thunder in the silent chamber. Now, standing at the sealed door, Valerina placed her hand on the lockpad. Access. Denied. She entered a hidden override, one known only to senior staff. Access. Accepted. The door slid open with a low hiss. Ethan looked up from his cot. His eyes were tired. His face was pale. But when he saw her, really saw her, something in him came alive. Valerina? He whispered. She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. I wasn't allowed to come, she said softly. Then why are you here? She didn't answer right away. Her body felt heavy, like she was carrying a war inside her chest. Because I couldn't breathe out there, she said. Not without knowing if you were okay. Ethan stood slowly, wincing at the pain in his ribs. I'm not okay. Not without you. They stood in silence, two figures from two worlds, looking at each other like the rules no longer mattered. Then, slowly, Valerina lifted her hand. She touched his face, not to scan, not to heal. Just to feel. Her fingers were cool against his warm skin. He leaned into her hand like it was the first real thing he'd felt in days. Your skin is warm, she whispered. Your touch is calm, he replied. Then something unexpected happened. Her other hand touched his chest, and for the first time in her life, she felt her own heartbeat respond. Not clinically, not professionally. Emotionally. Ethan placed his hand over hers. This is probably illegal in 12 galaxies, he said with a crooked smile. She almost smiled back. It's forbidden in mine, so why do it? Because I want to understand. Understand what? She looked into his eyes. Why my body only feels alive when I'm near yours. Outside the pod, silent alarms began to flash red. Unauthorized presence. Cross-contamination risk. Emotional breach. But no one came. Not yet. Back inside, Valerina sat with him on the cot. Not as a nurse, not as a soldier of science, but as a being who had finally tasted something beyond logic. Will they punish you? Ethan asked. They might erase my status, my memories, maybe even more. Then why risk it? Valerina looked at him. Because even if I lose everything, I don't want to forget you. Ethan reached for her hand, And this time, she didn't. Pull away. Asterisk, the Great Hall of Logic had never seen a human before. High above the floor, 12 Zalari elders sat behind a glowing circle of judgment. Their skin shimmered like silver dust. Their faces showed no emotion, only focus dot below them. Stood Valrina. Her hands were locked behind her back. Her eyes looked straight ahead. She wasn't afraid. She was ready. You are charged with emotional contamination, said Elder Vorth. You violated sacred touch protocol, added Elder Rissa, and you developed attachment. To a human male, finished the High Medica. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Of scientists, nurses, and commanders watching from the shadows. But Valrina didn't flinch. I accept the charges, she said, and I do not regret them. A ripple of whispers spread through the room. Behind a transparent shield, Ethan stood in a holding space, surrounded by guards. He was dressed in plain white robes, his injuries mostly healed. This is a circus, he muttered. One of the guards turned. Be silent, human. Ethan ignored him. His eyes were fixed on her, on Valrina. Elder Vorth's voice rang out. You, Valrina, allowed yourself to feel emotion, the very infection our kind has avoided for centuries. And yet, she replied, I never felt more alive. Shock, murmurs. The elders narrowed their eyes. Then you are dangerous, one of them whispered. Or evolving, she answered. The High Medica raised a hand. The human will speak. Gasps. Again. No human has ever stood before this court, a voice shouted. Then it's time you heard one, Valrina said. The guard released Ethan from the shield. He walked slowly to the center platform, looking around the room. All eyes, alien and cold, were on him. He cleared his throat. Hi, I'm Ethan. I bleed red. I get scared. I laugh when I'm nervous. And yeah, sometimes parts of my body react without permission. A few aliens hissed quietly. You think emotions are a sickness. We think they're what make life worth living. He turned to Valrina. She saved me. Not just my body, my mind, my heart. You think her feelings make her weak. I think they make her the strongest being in this room. Silence. Where I come from, love isn't contamination. It's the cure. The council chamber was still, utterly still. Then Elder Rissa spoke. You call it love? Ethan nodded. Maybe. I'm not sure yet, but I want to find out. And I think she does too. He looked at Valrina. She looked back. And for the first time in her life, she smiled. Without fear, the council withdrew into silent deliberation. 10 long minutes passed. Then the High Medica returned to the center. Nurse Valrina, she said, you are hereby stripped of rank. You are no longer part of the Zalari Medica system. The crowd gasped again, but you will not be erased. You will not be punished, because ... You showed us something we had forgotten. Valrina's eyes widened. What did I show you? She asked. The High Medica hesitated, then smiled faintly. Curiosity and courage. Later that night, Valrina stood on the landing deck beside Ethan. A shuttle waited behind them. So, what now? Ethan asked. Valrina looked out at the stars. Now ... We go where no logic can follow. The alarms came just before dawn. Cycle. Red lights painted the corridors. Sirens screamed like living creatures. Station Theta 9 was under attack. An unknown vessel had dropped from subspace. No signal, no warning. Just fire, and it was headed straight for the medical bay. Valrina and Ethan had no uniforms now. No ranks, just a small backpack, a shared room, and unfinished plans. They were packing when the station shook. That wasn't turbulence, Ethan said, eyes narrowing. Valrina tapped into the emergency feed. A Spinning black warships showed up on screen with sharp fins and no visible life signals. "That's not any known species," she whispered. "Well," Ethan muttered, "they're not here for hugs." Another tremor hit. Then another. The ship had attached itself to the lower decks and was cutting through the hull. "They're boarding," Valrina said. "And your people don't know how to fight," Ethan added. "We've never needed to." "Then? Maybe it's time you tried." Minutes later, Valrina and Ethan ran through smoke-filled hallways. Officers were in panic. Lights flickered. Drones tried to form barriers, but they were collapsing too fast. "We need to reach engineering core," Valrina said. "If they breach it, the station will fall." A robotic drone tried to stop them, but Ethan grabbed its power cell and smashed it against the wall. "Don't have time for permission." "You humans really are wild," she said, half impressed. "Told you. We love with chaos and fight with heart." At the core, 3 of the invaders had already broken through, tall, armor-plated beings with burning eyes and weapons like living metal. Zelaria officers fell back. Unarmed, panicking, Valrina grabbed a shock lance from the wall. "I've never used one of these." "Point and zap," Ethan said, grabbing one too. "We'll figure it out." The fight was messy, but powerful. Ethan fought dirty. Valrina fought smart. Together, they pushed the invaders back just long enough to hit the emergency seal. Door closed behind them with a blast. They were bleeding. Breathing hard, but alive. Later, the council entered the core. They saw Ethan standing, bruised and tired. Valrina beside him, her hands burned from the lance, but her eyes steady. The High Medica stepped forward. "You risked your lives to protect a place that rejected you." Valrina looked at Ethan. "I didn't protect the station," she said. "I protected us." Ethan smiled faintly. "And I just didn't want to die with paperwork unfinished." The High Medica looked around. This station was built on logic, on silence, on order. But today, we survived because of emotion, passion, connection. She paused. Perhaps we were not contaminated by humans, but healed. Weeks later, a new wing was built in the medical facility. Its name, Unity Wing. And on its doors were words from Ethan himself. "Sometimes the strongest medicine is the touch you're told to fear." Inside, alien and human patients rested side by side. Valrina wore no badge, but everyone called her Healer. Ethan taught self-defense to alien doctors. They still fought, still laughed, still felt. But now, they were no longer strange. They were something new, something whole. Together.